Right, so Square Enix just sold off the majority of their Western studios and IPs for $300 million. Microsoft purchases Activision for $68.7 billion, and Ubisoft is supposedly up for sale. The most common question I keep seeing pop up is,
whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
I really don't know, but we can take a quick look to find out. Why not, right? I have no idea what I'm doing, but apparently neither does IGN or Kotaku, so someone's got to try to unravel this mess. I guess I'll give it a shot.
Well, I didn't think you had it in you. I'm your huckleberry.
On May 2nd, 2022, Embracer Group released the following press statement. Embracer Group has entered into an agreement to acquire the development studios Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and a catalog of IPs including Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and more than 50 back catalog games from Square Enix Holdings. You know, I'm seeing a lot of people squealing from the mention of Legacy of Kain. Personally, I never really played it. I think it was ahead of my time. Wait, give me a second. When was this game? Blood Omen Legacy of Kain was first released on November 1st, 1996. Okay, so I was like 4? So you're telling me there's squeakers out there playing this game? Seriously? Around that time, don't think I remember us playing like Batman on the SNES. You know, the really hard one that no child should have been playing, let alone watching the movie, because that movie got dark in certain times. Anyways, in total, the acquisition includes 1,100 employees across 3 studios and 8 global locations. The total purchase price amounts to US dollars 300 million on a cash and debt-free basis to be paid in full at closing. Embracer has secured additional long-term debt funding commitments for this and other transactions in the pipeline. The company today reiterates its current operational EBIT forecasts for fiscal year 21-22, fiscal year 22-23, and fiscal year 23-24. The transaction is subject to various regulatory and other external approvals and is expected to close during the second quarter of Embracer's financial year 22-23, July through September of 2022. That was a mouthful. Embracer will hold a webcast presentation for investors, yada yada yada. We don't really need to know this because the time has passed. If you're really that interested, I'll just leave a link to this in the bio. Or in the description, sorry. We're going to scroll down a bit to find, after closing this transaction, the US will be Embracer's #1 country by number of game developers, and Canada will be #2. In total, post-pending closings, Embracer will have more than 14,000 employees, 10,000 engaged game developers, and 124 internal studios. I have no idea why that was so funny. Embracer's upcoming content pipeline includes more than 230 games, with more than 30 AAA games. This acquisition will bring additional scale to Embracer's current AAA segment. The Embracer will have one of the largest pipelines of PC console games content across the industry, across all genres. As Embracer's pipeline matures, this will be a key driver for organic growth and net sales, operational EBIT, and free cash flows. So, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but before this I had never really even heard of Embracer Group. And according to Wikipedia, really? I guess it's better than Kotaku. According to Wikipedia, so take this with a giant grain of salt, they were founded in 2011 and are a Swedish video game and media holding company based in Karlstad, Sweden. The company was established under the Nordic Games licensing in 2011 as part of the Nordic Games Group, which I've heard of, and as a parent publisher of Nordic Games GmbH. Don't know what that little bit stands for. I should probably look that up if I want to look professional, but screw it. I'm a failed filmmaker, so I'm in my freaking bedroom. Come on, man. The company has acquired several assets from defunct publishers, beginning with those of Joe Wood. Okay, wow. For those of you who are not familiar, Joe Wood, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering right, they published games like Arcania Gothic and Painkiller. Both of those games might be past some of y'all's age. Beginning with Joe Wood in 2011 and THQ in 2013, in August 2016, Nordic Games Licensing and its published subsidiaries changed their names to THQ Nordic AB and THQ Nordic GmbH, utilizing the THQ trademark that is acquired in 2014. Rest in peace, THQ. As of December 2021, Embracer Group has 10 operative groups as its direct subsidiaries: Amplifier Game Invest, okay, Asmodee, what kind of name is that? Coffee Stain Holding, Dark Horse Media, Deca Games, Easy Brain Games, Gearbox. Okay, finally we're in the territory of things I actually know. Gearbox, Koch Media, Saber Interactive, and THQ Nordic. Each group has its own operations, subsidiaries, and development studios. That last sentence, each group has its own operations, subsidiaries, and development studios. That is a bit of an understatement. I'm about to go into a conspiracy theory territory on this one, but have you ever heard the saying? It's not really a saying. There's a small belief. It's not even a small belief. It's a big belief. Okay. There's this belief that every company in the world is under the umbrella of 5 companies. I'm just throwing 2 companies out there. Even though you have like Coke and Pepsi competing with each other, they're not really competitors because they're still owned by another company that's above them. Now, I'm not saying that's the case for those 2 specific companies, but that is the meaning behind it. Anyways, franchises like Tomb Raider are out of the control of Square Enix's hands. Personally, I don't know if that is a good or bad thing. I'll be honest here, I played most of the older Tomb Raider games, but out of all the old ones, I think I only beat Underworld. I did play through and enjoy the new trilogy, but, and this is a huge but, they got real old real fast because they were afraid to take the training wheels off, right? No decent puzzles, there were barely any puzzles. You didn't really have to think at all, and the games were just so easy, they basically played themselves, so, you know, I mean, they were still fun to play at times, maybe your first time around, but they got old fast. A new Deus Ex would be pretty cool. Never played the originals, but I really enjoyed Adam Jensen's arc when it made sense. They got into a whole Illuminati thing, and just for future reference, if you're going to use the Illuminati in your story, go all out. The problem with Deus Ex wasn't the Illuminati thing, it was just that, see, Human Revolution was the first one, Mankind Divided was the second. Mankind Divided, it was a good game, but it was not finished, right? It ended as soon as the story began, so you didn't really get to enjoy it. Either way, apparently Square Enix's Western IPs did not sell very well, considering they only kept a couple of them, like Life is Strange and Outriders. Okay, Outriders. True story on this one. When Outriders came out, I was working at Walmart at the time and got injured because 2 coworkers were in the back screwing around. And I mean seriously injured, like I almost lost my thumb. My thumb. Do you know what it's like to almost lose your thumb? It's your thumb! I was supposed to be at lunch, but, you know, because I was Mr. Reliable, I got asked to leave my mod team behind and come over to the grocery side and help get stuff situated over there. I should have said no, but because I did, I got pinned in the back between a rocket cart and, what's that thing called? It's not called a crusher, it's This is what happens when I don't have my coffee. I wanted my freaking coffee this morning, but all we have is freaking vanilla creamer, and vanilla creamer freaking sucks. It really does. The baler, that was it. Anyways, I got pinned between a rocket cart and a baler, and nearly got my thumb ripped off in between the doctor and lawyer visits. You know, drama, corporations, workers' comp, that whole situation. I could do nothing but sit at home with my thumb bandaged, looking like it was about to freaking fall off, and stitches on too tight, and freaking doctor, leave it alone. Anyways, the only thing I could actually play at the time was it was actually Arkham Knight's racing mode with the Batmobile. I got really good at that. Outriders came out, and I was like, you know, screw it, I got nothing else to do. So I played that entire game in the most bizarre way possible. I had to use my index finger on the right stick to aim the gun, and I had to use my pinky on the trigger to fire, and I had to use my middle finger to hit the face buttons, and my ring finger for the bumpers. My fingers got so stretched, but hey, it was fun. It was worth it. And if it was any other game, I wouldn't have just worried about it, to be completely honest with you. But truth is, Outriders kind of had that lasting impression, like it was a 360 era game. The way it played, the way the story was, and everything. I mean, it honestly just felt like a 360 game. It felt like Gears of War from the 360, really. And I just miss games from the 360 PS3 era, but they just felt different. I don't know what it is, they just felt better. Maybe it's because they weren't bogged down with loot boxes and all this crap. And I don't really remember if Outriders had any of that. If they did, it was easy to avoid because I didn't really have to worry about any of that. But anyways, oh, where was I? Right. I don't think their games didn't sell because they sucked, except for the Avengers. That game really did suck. I never played it because I tried to stay away from looter shooters and looter beat-em-ups and whatever you want to consider that game. I tend to stay away from microtransactions, which is why I haven't touched Assassin's Creed in so long. There's just nothing there for me, right? I just prefer story. But I have friends who, let me pull it back to one friend who spends thousands of dollars on stupid crap in Sea of Thieves, who spent thousands of dollars in Star Citizen. He buys loot boxes left and freaking right and all that crap, and he told me to stay away from the Avengers. It's not worth it. How crappy is your game when even somebody like that says stay away from the Avengers? Seriously. As a result, you have really good games like Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Fantastic, absolutely fantastic game that nobody bought because of crappy marketing mixed with the bad taste of that Avengers game in their mouth. It's a shame. It really is. It almost makes you wish Thanos won. Then we wouldn't have to deal with Disney Plus or Doctor Strange 2. That wasn't even Doctor Strange 2, it was a Wanda Season 2 or American Chavez Season 1 or MCU Part 2 or whatever you want to freaking call it. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. So yeah, the Embracer Group got off pretty cheap. Square Enix is going to focus on Final Fantasy blockchain and other Eastern IPs. Of course, they're going to focus on blockchain because why not? As of the making of this video, apparently there are reports that Ubisoft is trying to sell itself off, which is kind of weird. Actually, it is really kind of weird because didn't Ubisoft go through hell trying to fend off a hostile takeover from Tencent? Okay, no, it looks like in 2018, Ubisoft fended off a hostile takeover from Vivendi with the help of Tencent. Of course they did. Vivendi and Tencent are one and the same, to be completely honest with you, but we'll leave it alone. For those of you who don't know, let's just focus on Tencent real fast. Tencent is a Chinese company that has a stake in a lot of companies. They're slowly taking over the world, a little bit at a time, and I'm not joking about that. Seriously. They acquired numerous companies, but for the sake of time, we're just going to focus on some of the game companies and only the big ones that you might recognize. As of March 2022, Tencent owns 100% of Funcom, Riot Games, and Turtle Rock, 40% of Epic Games, 22% of Dontnod, 5% of Activision and Ubisoft, 3.80% of Remedy, Oh, undisclosed amount of Roblox and undisclosed for Platinum games. Really? Let's just move on. More recently, it was announced Microsoft is buying Activision for $68.7 billion coming this year after purchasing Bethesda for $7.5 billion. Wow. How pissed is Bethesda right now? You find out Minisoft had paid 60 billion more for another company. I mean, why is Microsoft even doing that, right? Couldn't they spend their money on something better? Like, I don't know, making the consoles better? And before I get some hate comments, I don't take sides in the console war. I prefer playing Xbox. I have for the longest time. As soon as I made the switch from the PlayStation to the original Xbox, it was all over for me, to be honest with you. Even then, I still hop on PlayStations time to time for the exclusives, the one advantage they have over Xbox. Looking at you, Microsoft. Other than that, I just don't really know. I guess in my older age, I've just been gravitating more towards PC. Everything's on there anyways, even PlayStation games, like they just added Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy to PC, God of War's on PC, Days Gone is on PC. I mean, it's all going there eventually. I will say, the biggest thing PC has going for it, in my opinion, is the community. Want to mod a game and don't know how? Boom, somebody is right there to help. Want to build a PC but don't know how? Boom, somebody is there to help, and there's games on Steam on how to build a PC. I'm not even joking. Man, I've seen PC gamers come together and bring corporations down to their knees. Don't believe me? Look at what Take-Two and GTA. Look that one up and have some good times. I should start wrapping things up or this will go on forever. I've only talked about a handful of companies, and truth is, when you start doing your own research into this stuff, it leads down a troubling road. Not in the sense of exclusivity, like, do I think Microsoft will have Call of Duty being exclusive to Xbox? No, that's just not smart. You have to make money. And like I just established, PlayStation is even putting games on PC, so exclusives isn't really the problem. Problem lies on two roads. The first is some conspiracy level stuff, right? If you dig deep enough on your own, you'll find it, but this isn't really the video for that kind of thing. The second, which is the one you really want to focus on, is, let's take Ubisoft for example. Ubisoft forces microtransactions into every one of their games. Every one. Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Far Cry, For Honor, Watch Dogs. If they can't put microtransactions into the game, then they don't continue the series. You only have to look at Splinter Cell to see that. I mean, they even added NFTs to Ghost Recon. Their own developers didn't want that. But, that's just something else entirely. We laugh it off and just say it's Ubisoft. But, why don't you roll all these studios under Microsoft or Sony or Tencent or whoever. A day can and will come when the majority of the game industry is owned by like two major companies, right? It can happen. But what if one day they all decide their wallets aren't fat enough, their wives' asses aren't big enough, or they want to move their freaking yachts out of the bay of this place, but they have to remove a historical bridge to do it? That money has to come from somewhere. So they mandate microtransactions straight down the line, and it's coming out of your wallet. You no longer have a choice when microtransactions are in every game. Now you can make the argument for PC gamers that, indie developers will continue to make their own stuff without it, but eventually everybody gets greedy at some point. And I was just about to wrap this up, but it came to my attention there are reports that Square Enix might be selling to Sony. Again, I really don't know what to say about that one. I personally think that would be a bad idea, but I'm not getting paid, so what do I care? There's more information about that in other places, but the troubling thing about that one is, while Sony movie studios have learned their lesson about going woke and censorship and everything like that, their video game side has not. So if Sony actually does buy Square Enix, then, Final Fantasy will change, and not for the better. I mean, Square Enix already has, what did they freaking call it? Let's just call her a woke czar. because that's essentially what it is. A problematic, she focuses on things that could trigger people like Tifa's big boobies. This is getting stupid. Y'all could say none of this will happen, but Americans are currently under a potato regime, and that was never supposed to happen, so, you know, it is what it is. This video is far too long. I encourage you all to dig a little deeper, verify information for yourselves, and not just gaming news, but everything. Don't just believe legacy media, and don't just believe every random person on the internet. Do some digging until you are satisfied with yourself with the answers you came up with. And when I say came up with, I don't mean form your own narrative, I mean actually go out and find the information. Anyways, I guess that's my little rant for the end of the video. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. If not, then don't. There ain't really nothing I can do about it. Hope you all have a good day, and thank you for listening.